Hi, Ideja. Welcome to the podcast. We're really excited to have you here today. I'm going to ask you a bit about yourself and what you do, but I wanted to start off by asking you about your name because it's a name I have never heard before, really beautiful name, and I wondered where it came from.
Absolutely. Thank you so much to both of you for having me. I'm so honored to be here. So, to give you a bit of context and name, it's from Kosovo originally. So, my parents are ethnically Albanian. I was born and raised in the UK. But the first thing my dad said when I was born is that he knew I'd have so many ideas. And so he said, I need to actually give her the most unique name we've ever seen. He had, at the time, been writing for a magazine called Ideja, and that kind of means idea. The word Ideja is actually idea translated into Albanian. And so he was saying, this is the perfect combination of my two worlds. You're going to have many ideas. And here I am today.
And he was right. He was right. Because sometimes people name someone something and they're like the opposite.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah, he was absolutely right. And actually, that's a really good way to remember how to pronounce your name as well. Idea,
Exactly.
idea. Yeah, I love it.
Exactly.
Oh,
Thank you.
glad I asked that. And probably our first guest with Kosovan heritage as well.
I'm honored to be here, truly.
Oh, so we want to know more about you. Tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and yeah, how did you get to where you are today? Tell us a little bit about your journey.
Course, a very non-linear journey, I'll start by saying. Very much picking up threads, whatever comes your way, you take action on it. So definitely surrounded by high agency individuals and myself having that too. Actually, my background is in cell biology. So that's what I studied at university. That was the niche. I came in thinking this is going to be my thing. I'm going to get a PhD when I graduate from St. Andrews. And of course, plans like that don't really last super long, especially when you think you've mapped out every minute. And halfway through my degree, so in around 2023, of course, ChatGPT came out, and that completely just transformed education internally, but also the world externally, right? And so I was quite non technical, loved technology, was always super curious about it, and just ended up picking up, sort of threads of the different tools that existed out there. My friends at the time were like, you need to come in and just try ChatGPT, test it out. And off the back of that, I just sort of went down this rabbit hole of actually exploring AI overall and what it means to be in the science space and going into technology. And after a biotech internship in the summer of 2023 in Paris, I just saw that it was a great environment and a great team, but AI was drawing me a lot more than I'd ever realized. So about 2 weeks after that, I get a really spontaneous email in my inbox for a Women in STEM business accelerator with a beautiful charity down in London. And then little did I know that I'd apply for that, have 2 weeks to invent a business idea. And here I am today with that being my full time thing now. So it's, I think, all about picking up the little intuitive threads that make no sense at the beginning, but end up being a combination of who you are. So that's kind of what I'm doing now, running my own consultancy, supporting a wide variety of businesses to really get AI from the same kind of background that I had, very non-technical, but very people, human focused, and doing all sorts of workshops, strategies. And then, yeah, being an AI speaker, creating content, it's a whole array of different things I do, but I really, really love it.
Sounds
Wow,
amazing.
yeah.
I just want to say there's a really interesting thing about your journey, which is that actually it sounds like you were the sort of, as you said, step, step, step. I've mapped it all out. I know exactly what's going to happen and what I'm going to do, and it's all working fine. And then you kind of got curious and just went off
Mhm.
in lots of different directions. And as a result, intuitively, you've been able to find your direction. So I think that's really empowering for lots of people. That the fact that your journey doesn't always go the way you plan, but also that maybe you can't plan it,
Yeah.
but also go for it. You know, you see something in your inbox, go for it. You get an opportunity to go to Paris, go for it. You know,
Yeah.
actually, there shouldn't be things that hold you back. So I think that's very empowering in a time when perhaps people are saying there aren't opportunities out there. Actually,
Mhm.
look, and if you're open, potentially there are some things, and I'm not saying it's not a bit tighter and a bit harder or a bit
Yeah.
different than it used to be, but there are opportunities out there, and actually respond
Yeah.
and pivot if you need to.
I
Yeah.
agree. It's almost like about building your agency, isn't it? It's like how do you follow the random opportunities that come your way that you might be terrified about, but you see it and you're like, wow, this just lit something up inside of me. I've got to follow that instinct, whether it makes logical sense or not. So, yeah, definitely.
Exactly. I would also like to say I've been pointing this out every episode that I've heard it in. It's having a human-centric approach to artificial intelligence and coming from a human-centered background as well. Obviously, cell biology is biology, it's like biomed, but it's also still human centered. I think
Yeah.
that this is where we see a lot of future um, and trailblazing AI careers come from as well. And I think it takes a lot of pragmatism, a lot of, okay, I need to switch what I'm doing and go different places. I think sometimes those risks as well really are the things that reap the most rewards. Um,
Mhm.
I've said it before, but I haven't said it to you, but I come from a humanities background, and I really have seen so many flourishing careers come from human-centered, human ideas and combining it with this new tech that we're seeing. I know for me that I realized I wanted to go into AI and entrepreneurship after um, a short stint working in financial services, and I felt like I needed to change something. I needed to figure out what I wanted to do for myself that felt rewarding. But I was wondering what that moment was for you. What was the moment of transition when you realized that this is what you wanted to do? And obviously, you talked about your course, but I mean, things can be ideas. When did it become a reality?
Yeah. I think in relation to the scientific background, I've always just had a knack for really loving kind of small, little niche concepts, I guess, and then being able to map those really creatively to how they impact our bodies. So, for example, I'd be that little child who'd always ask for Christmas for like microscope kits and all of that stuff because I loved just getting like plants and looking at them under a microscope at home. That really just fueled my curiosity. And I'm very lucky that my parents and my family were so supportive of that. And they were like, anything you think that will propel you forward that you need from us, we will give you. Because we're not in the science background ourselves, but we will help you get to where you want to be. And I think that was absolutely just invaluable, pretty much. And I also believe that because of that, I then managed to get to a stage at university where I was super happy with my course. But then, things happen for a reason, I believe. I think had I not had a best friend who would come into my room and tell me, try this tool out, I probably never would have really picked up AI that quickly. So it's definitely a combination of picking out what my best skills are and realizing that over the years. And at the same time, as university, I was tutoring students for GCSE and A level science because I loved the science communication. I loved talking and teaching and helping people. I just didn't know that that would become a very solid career path until I took the most random leap of faith with the company. So I wouldn't say it was one specific turning point. I think it's always been there. It was just certain experiences that opened those out for me. Maybe for the AI, it was that internship and the email, but yeah, it was definitely a combination of everything I've done and then stepping into it and taking the leap.
Fantastic.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really, really cool. I also remember, I think we were probably at uni around the same time. I remember when ChatGPT came out as well, and I remember my flatmate, my best friend and my flatmate at the time coming into my room and saying, "You should try this out. This is so cool. This is revolutionary." And at the time, it was not even a crumb of what it is now, but
Yeah.
wow, like it honestly changed the game completely.
Absolutely.
I think about uni students that are in uni right now experiencing ChatGPT as it is. Like if ChatGPT was around when I was in my second year of uni, I think it would have got abused a little bit. I would have used it for everything.
Oh, yeah.
But I think it was a really good gateway into learning about AI as we know it right now, especially conversational AI. Like going from Siri to ChatGPT is they're two completely different machines and tools.
And I think that it's such a good starting place for people that want to learn about AI as well. It can teach you a lot, as well as teaching you not what to do and what not to do.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
I think actually, I mean, although we can say students might abuse it, you can spend a lot of time trying to make the work you do not sound like it was created by AI.
Yeah.
So
Very
they
true.
end up spending just as much time doing that.
And actually, I think that's something that a lot of people don't really realize, because we see this as like a shiny new tool, huge dependence is put on it to generate what we want. But then if you're creating a LinkedIn post about, a related topic, and then you just copy and paste the AI output, you'll probably spend 2 hours on top of what you've just done to go back and edit so it doesn't sound like every other post on there. So there's something
Exactly.
to be said for that. It's the usage, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really, really true. I think it takes a lot of time, a lot of effort to give ChatGPT enough of yourself so it doesn't sound like very, very generic. But then at that
Mhm.
point, you may as well just do it all yourself.
Exactly. That's what most people are doing. So
Yeah, even just prompt engineering, it'll take you what, 20 minutes to create a really good prompt. You may as well just go and write it on paper.
Yeah.
definitely. I mean, my hack for that is essentially going into Claude, voice noting everything I'm thinking about and asking it to make the prompt for me. Because sometimes I'm like, it's not even specific enough. And then I'll copy and paste that in. But that still adds a lot of time on top of it too. So it's, yeah, combination.
Exactly, exactly.
What that speaks to is that we are human and we are
Yeah.
special and unique. And there's no
Yeah.
way I can download every experience that I've ever had and all the thoughts and the things I've read and the things I've seen into AI. Not yet.
Exactly. Not yet.
Not yet.
Close. And then then it will be different. But right now,
Yeah.
it can't get everything, all of that nuance. A lot of the
Yeah.
work I do is with leaders. So I work with organizations to help leaders be the best they can be. That might be being the most inclusive they can be, being entrepreneurial leaders in organizations, or actually, how do you bring your colleagues along with you in this new AI world? Because we know,
Yeah.
although we are people who are using AI on a daily basis, there are lots of people who are still quite scared of it, think it's
Mhm.
cheating, all of that sort of thing. So, but one of the things when we're thinking about leadership is about purpose. I really, when I'm working with leaders, I want them to feel like they're on purpose with their work. This is aligned with their values, who they are. Because when you're on purpose with your work, it doesn't feel so much like work. It feels really like this is just what you're born to do. And as we've been speaking with you, Ideja, I've really felt that, Ideja. I've felt that
Yeah.
you're on purpose. This is what you're meant to do. There's such an alignment with who you are and what you're about and this work. So I know you founded a nonprofit and later Advance AI. But I'm wondering, we talked a little bit about your Kosovan Albanian roots. You've been in Scotland, you're in London. I'm wondering, maybe where you feel your values come from that inform the work and the approach to the AI work that you do.
Yeah, and I think that's such a beautiful question. I really love that because it kind of makes you sit down and actually think about where did it all come from? Like having a moment of reflection, which when we're moving forward so much can be a little bit difficult. So sitting back, it's a really lovely reflection. So thank you for that. I would say, obviously, being in two different cultures is great, but it does have its qualms sometimes where you almost don't fit in the UK, but you also don't fit in back home. But then the beauty is that you can take both cultures together and kind of transmute that into something quite novel. And that's what I really love to do. So to pick up all those threads and then turn them into something quite niche, I would say I've picked up the hardworking and hardcore ethical values from my parents because they were actually immigrants from the war in the 90s in Kosovo. So they always had that sort of drive to just really live a life that is fulfilled and aligned because tomorrow is not promised in those environments. And that is something that I think I've been positively infected by, and I carry that with me everywhere. But I would also say that that community element in Kosovo is what I really take forward too. because if you see someone who has an Albanian surname, immediately you're connected to them as if you're siblings, and it's the most beautiful experience that I've never seen anywhere else. It's so incredible. And I think part of that I do miss in the UK. There's not so much that element of deep connection in the same way. But what I will say is the structure and the ability to move forward and to innovate is very kind of UK grounded, which I've taken in combination with the community side. So it's almost being anglicized in your thought process for business so you can propel forward, but always having that community and the Kosovan values back home come forward. So it's a beautiful combination of both, I would say, definitely.
I love that. And I think a lot of people who have sort of mixed heritage or not necessarily grown up in the UK or the country that they're now living in, where it will resonate, that sense of community when you find someone who's has a similar background to yourself, but also that, yeah, they've had to work hard to get where they are. And that sense of, yeah, I need to do that too. I definitely have that from mine.
Yeah, but that's so good because you can feel it as well. I feel like even in conversations, it really shows in what is created off the back of that, either businesses or initiatives like this, or writing books, or just channeling the creativity in some form or way. I think it's beautiful, and I found that a lot of my friends at university were exactly like me, all internationals, all like a cocktail of countries and backgrounds, and that was the most beautiful part of finding people for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's one of my favorite topics, really, thinking about equity and fairness for everyone. It's something that I'm really passionate about. And obviously, our podcast is AI for equity. So we want fairness. We want to make sure that everyone is able to access AI in the way they want to, but also that AI is used in fair and safe ways and ethical ways for people. In your work at Advance AI, how do you approach that equity dimension? I mean, you're a woman in tech anyway,
Mhm.
but I just wonder how you think about the social, organizational, the ethical levels and layers that you're working with.
Yeah, I think in the beginning, it's always important to, I guess, define equity, right? Because we have such strong opinions and views as to what equity truly means. And I think it is, of course, about the access to technology. It is about kind of how we interact with it, how exposed are we. But I also think it's about who feels confident enough to take what they already have and do something with it. Because oftentimes, I mean, in certain parts of the world, for example, in Kosovo, like there are rural villages where no one has access to the technology or even internet. So how do you even begin to start the conversation if it is not available as a resource? But then on the flip side, the bigger cities might have all this incredible access, but do they feel confident enough to take what they already have? So that's something I've had to really sit and think about when, designing the programs, the workflows, and the structures for Advance, because you are right. Like it is a huge, huge issue where we're assuming that there's already access there, but where do we start if there's not? You're almost in ground zero. So I think for me, I've had to target my niches around focusing on the confidence side. So definitely targeting the areas that have the resources, but are not putting them to use at all because they don't have those, mindsets, or they haven't done the shift work enough. But I think at the end of the day, you will have those shining stars who always come out, and all it takes is for them to have a bit of an environment for them to come through, and that's always what I see it as in the AI space, where it's enablement, right? You're allowing people to see that actually technology is not scary, it's not frightening. It's just because you have predisposed limiting beliefs that you haven't worked with, that have been inherited down. Like there's so many different factors to consider. And I think equity in this case focuses on how do we target that? How do we sit with individuals and make them feel confident to pick up the technology? And that's ultimately what the work has boiled down to. A lot of strategies, a lot of workshops, but at the end of the day, like you said earlier, it's the human in the loop. It's understanding that AI is literally just a tool to augment the foundations that you've already created. But the first step is to build those foundations. And that's what we do. So yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. I love that. I was doing some writing this week, actually about getting people to try artificial intelligence. I was at a conference few months ago, and I couldn't tell you the amount of people I spoke to that just had predisposed bias against AI, saying, why would they use it? It's not for them. It wasn't built for them. You know, but I think as time is moving on, that bias should be shedding away because there's so many AI startups, there's so many different chatbots, there's so many different uses for AI, and a lot of laws in place as well to stop misuse. Um, and I just love what you're doing because, yeah, this fear can be passed down generationally. This predisposed bias can be spread throughout communities and in families and even in friendship groups as well. It takes a lot to break that mold to go and try something new, especially in communities where maybe they do have access to it, but no one's touching it. I think it is great. I think as well, we're seeing a lot from people overindulging in AI, and now it's almost like there's been a rollback. So I think
Yeah.
you must be seeing that and feeling it quite a lot as well. I know that I definitely am. A lot of people saying AI has gone too far now, we've used it too much.
Yeah.
It's yeah, but
Definitely.
laws are coming into place now. It's yeah.
Definitely. I think it's also a case of knowing what the individuals need because you've lived those experiences. And I feel like we're really similar in that sense where we've done the same thing, going from non-technical backgrounds, getting one foot in the door and then starting, maybe even we had a phase where we overindulged. It's like a curve, right? And so because we've lived that experience, we've done it ourselves. It's almost like giving back to your younger self by becoming the person you wish you had when you first started. So
Mm.
that's kind of how I see the journey whenever everyone's like, okay, why did you start this? What is your why? Why do you care so much about AI and talking about it? I think it really is because I went through that whole step and I didn't have anyone around me who understood the technology because no one did and no one does realistically if we look at how it's developing. So I
Yeah.
think it's about building those communities, having those people to empower others. So yeah.
I agree. I love that as well. I love doing it for your younger self. That's what I do with
Exactly.
my own company. I imagine it helping baby Leah or little Leah. And
Exactly.
I think that that is a good way to think about it. It's helping the next generation to not make the same mistakes or to stay out of harm's way. I do think over reliance on AI was something that lots and lots of people did. And obviously we're seeing the effects of that now with almost
Definitely.
rollback. But I saw the statistic this week that 70% of Gen Z use AI every week
Yeah.
in their work life. That's not even in their home life, in their work life, 70%. And that just was crazy to me because I was thinking about those people that don't have access to internet or AI, like they must be
Yeah.
that 30%. But I probably couldn't name many of my friends that don't use AI every single week. You
Same. Yeah. No, like exactly the same thing. And I think it's also a case of the environment you're in because I don't know about your university, but at mine, they fully banned any usage of AI completely. So
Yeah, they did
it
that.
was, exactly. It was a whole debacle where everyone was using it to submit entire coursework pieces. And then it became a case of, right, we need to, shut down absolutely everything. And they still have that rule and regulation on, which is crazy when you think about the professors using AI to then grade the papers,
Yeah,
but then also the workforce we're stepping into being all AI. So
yeah,
it's this really strange, like catch 22 paradox that we will eventually evolve out of, but it could be when another big technology comes through. So it's like setting the foundations now, right?
exactly. I remember one of my professors telling me that when it's called spell checker came out on Word, they were banned from using that.
Wow. Oh
And
my God.
this was a few years ago he said it. He was like, "But it'll catch up because now we are obviously allowed to use spell checker. It'll catch up." I know that in Dundee, where I went to uni, they are allowed to use AI in small bits. Like they have, I think it's traffic light system now. But
Wow.
when I was at uni, I graduated in 2024. I had to think there for a minute. Yeah, Yeah, we were not allowed to use AI at all. Like, and there were plagiarism detectors and AI detectors, but you're using AI to check that if I've used AI, it doesn't work.
Exactly.
It doesn't work at all. And we know that those AI detectors as well aren't always 100%.
No,
Um,
no,
But just
absolutely
listening,
not.
yeah, just listening to you both, there's a few things that come up for me as someone obviously from another generation. The first is you're talking like you're veterans, and I think you're both under 30, aren't you? It's like
Yeah.
this moves so quickly that a year in AI is like 10 years, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
So, that it's just interesting to think about that, how, in some ways, how easy it is to be a veteran of AI,
yeah,
how quickly it's moving, but also that point about, 70% of people use AI every week. In some ways, you cannot avoid it. So
Mhm.
my mum, she's been against AI from the beginning, it's just like, "This is terrible, this is evil thing, what is it?" She's looked up something on Google yesterday and she said, "Oh, AI told me." And I said, "Oh, you're using AI now." And she said, "Well, AI is in Google, isn't it?" I was like, "Oh, yeah, you're right."
Yeah.
So actually, even the people who didn't want to use it
yeah,
are using it.
Yeah.
It's kind of becoming embedded in everything, and so you have no choice whether you're doing it very consciously, like we're talking about using large language models, or whether you're using something you always used that now has AI embedded in it. So
I agree.
yeah,
Yeah,
'Cause
definitely.
I think that obviously, as we know, there's a new AI generation every 4 months. So every season there's a new AI generation, and AI has been on iPhone since 2011. Alexa got released in 2014. We've been living with AI. I think that it's just visible now. People have a name to it now, so
Mhm.
they're probably more able to say it. Like, yeah, I've been using AI, when actually, if you're in the car and you're driving and you say, "Hey Siri, play X, Y, and Z," that's AI. I actually was saying that
Absolutely.
to one of my friends the other day. He was saying, "I don't use AI. I never use AI." And I was like, "You just used AI. We're driving and you asked for someone."
Exactly.
I'm like, "Siri is AI." I think it's a big group AI as large language models when there's just so many. And I
Yeah.
think that's also a way that I personally have been getting people to warm up to the idea of AI as a whole, and it's saying, well, AI has been around for ages. That spam folder in your emails, that's AI. Um, you
Yeah,
know,
absolutely. And I think it's also important to give the backstory to it as well, because a lot of people forget that AI was coined in 1956. It's been around for a really long time. It's just it had four different funding winters that meant that all of the investors were laughing at the professors who said, actually, no, like we can turn human intelligence into a technology. So I think being able to digest all of the huge, big information that is so technical. Like if you read all the papers being produced by these big tech companies, you're like, what on earth are these like 50 vector names? Like it doesn't make sense. And I think that's the new generation of content creators that I'm seeing that are coming out. How able are you to bring such big concepts into really simple terminologies? Because as bad as it is, the average age for literacy, just in general, like reading and writing, is 9 years old for the globe, which I think is absolutely bizarre. So you really have to start explaining things to 9-year-olds and suddenly it clicks in the brain. So I think
yeah.
it's peaks and troughs, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, it is peaks and troughs. So let's look to the future now. Let's look a couple of years ahead. What do you, what is one bold vision you have for the next 5 years in oh my goodness, sorry. What is one bold vision you have for the next 5 years in maybe one or two areas in how AI and young talent intersect?
Okay. I think for AI as a bold vision, I would say that it's not going to necessarily be about the impact of the technology itself. It's going to be how it affects humans' cognition in general. So I think at the moment we're very much in this like, are we in an AI bubble? Are we not? Because we're focusing so much on the investment and the kind of more mechanical side of the technology. But in reality, it boils down to the humans always. So how it's going to impact our cognition in 5 to 10 years will determine how strong we are as a society, but also how we kind of adapt to the technology. Because frankly, the technology is outpacing our biology in terms of what our capacities are. Like, our brains are not meant to handle this much information. Like, look at TikTok, causing so many issues just in people having doom scrolling habits now because we want regulation of our nervous systems. And I think this is something that AI will either augment depending on our personal agency, or something that AI will hinder. But that comes down to the foundations. It's how willing are you to take agency? How willing are you to see AI as a tool rather than just another disposable technology? And I think because AI will become a mirror of agency, that's where the sort of STEM education is going to kind of intersect, because AI is democratizing access to absolutely everything. Like, we are genuinely moving into an era where you do not need a degree to get into a space that you wish to be in. Take us as prime examples. Like, I did not graduate in AI at all, or technology, and I'm now talking about it. So it's who has the audacity, the agency, the passion to genuinely follow what they believe in and use AI as a tool and propel themselves forward. And that's exactly what's going to happen, I believe, in the next few years. Those individuals coming from maybe disadvantaged backgrounds, can't afford to go to university or to these big flashy schools, they're going to use AI to upskill themselves and put themselves ahead. So it comes down to the human, always. That's the key thread here, for sure.
Gosh, I could talk to you forever, because everything you say, I'm like, oh, I want to say something about this, but I don't want to take up all the time. But there's a lot you said. I mean, that was very positive and empowering. And I love your idea of having that personal agency. I guess there's this thought inside me that not everyone's as strong as others. Some people are prone to addiction, for example. Then you get addicted to AI or whatever it is. And some people find it easier to have self-discipline and focus, don't they? And I wonder how that plays out in this world. So
Yeah,
I think we're going to have you back on another day,
I'd be honored.
because we're getting into some deep thoughts. You've taken me in some deep places. Alongside my main consultancy work, I have a social enterprise called Rocking Your Teens, and we empower 13 to 15-year-olds to make good choices in life, to increase their aspirations, and we try and introduce them to careers that they have never heard about. And when we think about sort of the STEAM world, science, technology, engineering, forgot it for a moment, arts, and maths. AI sits kind of within it, although you both talked about the humanities side of it. But I love to share lessons with young people. And so maybe if there was a 13 to 15-year-old listening, what would you tell them that you wished you'd known earlier? What 2 or 3 bits of advice do you think would have helped you, maybe to do what you're doing? You would have got there earlier, or it would have been easier, maybe.
Yeah, I love that question so much. And that sounds incredible. That's very value aligned to the nonprofit stuff. So that's awesome. I would say that having momentum and working really hard and having that strong work ethic is incredible, and always pushing forward is great. But knowing when to actually take a break is actually more important, because I'm someone who, when I get obsessed with the topic, I could rabbit hole for genuinely so long, too long. So I do have to make conscious choices to actually say, wait, no, I'm going to put this down. I'm going to go see my family, go and see my friends, because you need to make sure that you're not going to burn yourself out. And luckily, I've never touched burnout, but I think I've been pretty close. And that has been thanks to retreating back to my family, going on holidays with them and letting them, take care of me for a little bit helped. So you can have these amazing big goals, but rest should be a priority. That would be the first thing. I think the second thing is the idea that you can spend so much time thinking and generating ideas in your brain, but clarity will never come just from thinking those thoughts. Clarity is going to come when you've actually started to take action on all of those mini ideas, even if they lead nowhere. One step forward, maybe 5 minutes of your day practicing towards something, whether that is, a musical instrument or, creating your own podcast, doing a nonprofit, 5 minutes a day will compound and it becomes compound interest to achieving the visions. Because if we could all achieve our goals from genuinely just thinking about them, we'd all be superstars right now. So there would be there'd be no competition. I think taking action combined with agency is the way forward.
Absolutely love that.
Amazing. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, really, really
Thank
helpful.
Yeah. So we'll move on to the quick fire round now, which is my favorite part because you always learn so much in those little short snippets.
you.
So what's your favorite unexpected book or podcast that's influenced how you think about technology or leadership?
It would have to be a very rogue one, a fiction book, Brave New Worlds by Aldous Huxley. Because reading that completely changed my brain chemistry, where actually technology in those stories is not a case of pushing us out. It's actually how are we becoming so passive because we have everything we need. So I would highly recommend reading the book if you want to see what a society could look like when we have technology making us comfortable.
Nice. I definitely will add it to my reading list. What
Amazing.
is one skill, non-technical, you believe will matter even more in the age of AI?
Discernment. So knowing when to use AI, knowing when to stop using it, knowing when to use your own brain. Yeah, that's the
Yeah,
biggest one.
I agree. That's exactly what was in my head when you when I asked that question.
So we're like telepathy right now.
Yeah, the sync up. And finally, what's the first thing you do when you hit a big challenge or failure in your work?
Journal. I will carry a notebook with me. Literally, it's right here. Always a notebook and a pen, and I have to just journal and get my thoughts out. They cannot stay processing in my head. Journal meditation.
Nice, nice. Well, thank you so much for answering all my quick fire questions. It's been amazing to have you on the podcast. Honestly, I feel like I could speak to
You.
you for
Oh,
ages. You have so much to
likewise.
say.
Thank you. I could literally go on so many tangents. I was literally holding myself because I could have asked you both so many questions. But thank you so much for your time and for your such positive energy. I love the work you're both doing.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. We look forward to following everything you do and
Thank you.
and seeing it grow, develop, and help other people, most importantly. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to AI for Equity. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Stay curious, stay bold, and keep using AI to build a fairer future.